Hi everybody, it's me Josie again. This is going to be the second part of stenciling, and I'm going to be showing you how to stencil on fabric. Now here I've already prepared all my paints. Now I've mixed. Like I said, you have to read the instructions. This is a folk art textile medium, and here it says you put one part, let's see here, one part medium with 2 parts of paint. So if it's 2 drops of paint, 1 drop of this. Now these are already mixed up, and it's very easy to do. I'll just show you really quickly. Just put a bit of the paint. You guys can see that, right? Yeah. Okay. Just put a little bit of the paint and try to figure out how much. I'm going to put 2 drops of this in. Okay. Get a little stick and you stir it up. It does not affect the color at all. The color will stay the way it is. And that's it. There you have it. Okay. And you're ready to paint fabric with this. These are all mixed already. And now I'm going to show you. I wanted to do this border of here. Now on the instructions will tell you as well to put wax paper underneath, but I have this baking mat, so I can just wash it off after and do that. But if you guys want to use wax paper, that's perfectly fine. I want to show you a border for the reason that I want to show you how you can continue a line with a stencil. Naturally, it would have to be a stencil that you can continue doing it. So let's see here. I've got to just move over a touch, get all these paints out of the way. Too many paints out. Decisions, decisions, decisions. And that way I can move this over and show you. Oh, you know what? I have to move all of this over because I have everything taped down here. And I didn't realize before that it would have been off the camera. But that's okay. I can move it all in one. There we go. Okay. Now I'm just going to tape it again to the mat. Then I'll move it over once we're finished the border so we can hit the center of it. So you're going to get the brush. Now this is a smaller stencil, so you would need a smaller brush not to go out outside the lines. And actually I'm without, so what I'm going to do is, I don't care about this side here, but I do not want to hit the fabric here, especially because I'm using black. I'm going to do a black checkerboard all the way around. So I'm going to cover it up with a nice big piece of tape. Now this is fabric, so you don't have to hit the tape with your clothes. But like I said, if you're going to be doing it on a wall or on paper, I advise you to rub off the stickiness of the tape. Just rub it on your clothes a bit, and that will, it's not coming off. I'm just going to cut it off here. Okay, now the reason why I was just about to cut my stencil, you guys. The reason why I can't find one of my little brushes, actually I did find my brushes, but the little ones you have to take extra care of. Like those are very delicate because they have just very short little bristles. So, and then I did want to tell you guys as well too. These, I don't like. No. These, if you really want to make a good impression on a stencil, I think they would be fine. I do not use them for stencils. I use them just to pounce paint around. But no, I'm not fine with these type of brushes. I've never used them. So, and this is one of my smallest ones here. And like I said, see, the brushes are very small. Not a good quality of brush because this should not go rusty like this. This one I've had for years and it's never happened because it has no seam here where to rust from. These have seams. So when you are buying your brushes, be extra careful. If you want to just buy brushes to try out the first few times and you find them cheap, do that. What I can recommend you is that when you wash them, you dry them right away, and the whole brush, to make sure that this part is not going to be rusting after. It really doesn't affect the work, but it's kind of ugly, And like I was saying, with these little tiny tiny ones, you have to be extra careful on cleaning them right away after. And I probably didn't do that, so the brushes are pretty hard here. In this case, I'm going to use a bigger brush, but be very careful. And I put the tape here just to make sure that I'm not going to go over onto the fabric. So my black is ready. Now, the difference here between doing it on paper and doing it on fabric is you do want to keep a bit of the paint on the brush because the fabric will absorb. So, and like I said, if you're not sure, rub it off a lot, go onto the fabric. You can always go back and continue. And we're just going to do these, always a swirly motion. Now this is a fabric that has texture. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it has little tiny squares, and the texture of the fabric changes on each square. It'll go from one side to another, and it does give it a beautiful effect sometimes with stencils. If you prefer using, if you're never sure, remember this, go off first to make sure that you do have taken some of the paint off, to make sure that you're not going, because if you ruin this, you know, you can't go back. With the fabric, you can't go back. And when you ruin a piece of fabric, that's a shame. And you like I said, you do need a little bit more paint on this, but you always have to be careful too, because it could seep under if you have too much paint on your brush. Now, like I said, you don't like this, do it again. Go over it. You want to make it really dark, you can go over it. I like this type of stenciling, and you can see that when I take it off at the end, I'll show it to you up close, the fabric, to understand what exactly I'm doing here. If you want to make sure that you don't dirty other things, you can always lay a piece of wax paper on top, just to make sure that while maybe you're passing the paint over, you don't want to drip it or something like that. So I'm going to take this off now. And oh geez, I'm so sorry you guys, I forgot to tell you. Now, you're working with fabric, so obviously you're doing some kind of piece. If you're doing a sheet, or if you're doing a tablecloth, or if you're doing a placemat, whatever it is, you do want to leave a seam line to sew it after. So what I did was I put tape all the way around the edges. One, because it won't fray while you're working at it, and two, it gives you a guideline to go around if you do want to do a border, and make sure that you're going to have enough fabric to, how do you call it, to sew it after, that you will have a seam line there. Okay, so this is the way I continue my stencils, to make sure that I'm getting the perfect continuation. Now here it's not hard because my corners hit the corner here perfectly. But if you're doing a long piece, what you're going to do is you're going to place your stencil. Are you seeing that? You're going to place your stencil a little bit over where one of the little squares hit the openings here. Okay? Then here I have to measure, just a second, I'm going to place it here, but make sure the rest of it is all lined up with the tape I have underneath. And I can see it here. If I push it over more, let me see here, if I put it closer, no, that doesn't work. Okay, now if I push it over this way, I see the tape. I'm going to tape this side right down right here. I see the tape right there, so I'm going to line it up with the tape to make sure that it's going to be on a straight line, hopefully. Okay, now here it's not adding up good, so I'm not going to do that little piece of tiny piece of square that's hanging out, and I am going to cover it, so I make sure that I'm not going to touch it. There we go. And I'll fix the corner as we go. Okay, so again, dip your brush and start off the stencil onto the openings of the stencil, off the stencil onto the openings. And fabric too, you do really need very little paint. You don't need, you use much less on paper or wood or whatever, but you do need very little paint. So I got the first part that's loading up in this moment, so that way hopefully by today I get them all out. Okay, and you can go over that again if you want. Okay, so we're going to take it off. And there we go. Okay, now for this corner here, we're going to try to fix that up. If I put a stencil right here, right beside the opening of it, can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to line it up. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen that I cover up this hole. I'm not going to paint on this hole in the corner. I would rather leave this. It will look like a mistake, but I would rather leave it and not have two black squares beside each other. So I'm just going to make sure right here that it's lined up and close it up. I'm still in my pajamas this morning. Yeah. I love Saturday mornings. My kids are still asleep, lazy bums. The two youngest ones, the older ones are already at work. They've been gone since 7 this morning. And it's quiet. There's a construction site going on here beside my house. So in mornings right now for me it's impossible to do anything because it's so much noise because they're taking all the all the iron off of the trucks and everything. It's going to be it's going to be about 6 houses being built. So I'm pretty sad because like I always say, we live on a plantation, and it's been so quiet here, throughout the years that since I've been here. There are only going to be 6 houses, so I'm sure that it's not going to be that bad. But I'm going to be having people right beside me now. When you're used to being in a solitary place, it's hard to accept, that you're going to have neighbors and the privacy is totally finished. Like here, we live in a place that we could keep the music on up until 2, 3 in the morning and nobody would complain. I'm sure some houses would hear us. But, so I said, just a second, I said I'm not going to do this one, and I was supposed to cover it up. There I go, jabbering, and then I start making mistakes. So I'm going to cover that one up. Okay. So, yeah, our neighbors don't complain. Like, I have neighbors. It's not that I don't have neighbors, but they're farther away. They're, what could I say, about 500 meters away. What would it be? Maybe a quarter of a mile. I'm not sure. The conversion there. Here we go in meters and centimeters and things like that. I use both. When it comes to sewing, I use a lot of inches because most of my books have their blankets and things like that in inches. So now we're going to complete this little square, and I'm going to give you an idea on what you can do with them after. You just don't have to limit yourself doing a tablecloth, or what really looks cute. I did it for a friend of mine when she got married about 15 years ago. I did all the little, she loved sunflowers, and we found a fabric for her on burgundy with sunflowers on it, and she had a plain, that was the little ruffle on top, I think, yeah. Then she had a plain ivory curtain coming down, and on the bottom of this curtain I put all little tiny sunflowers, a trimming on the bottom, with then a little trimming of this burgundy fabric, which came out cute. You see here I came off a bit. I didn't measure it good. And this corner, did you see the way it came out? But I don't mind these little mistakes. I don't mind this. It's something that you'd have to measure out perfectly when you're doing something like this. If you do want to do a trim, measure before and then, but for the purpose of the video, I had this piece of fabric. I cut up a piece, and this is the way it ended up. So naturally I would go and do the other side, but I'm not going to do that now because I want to show you some flowers on this piece and talk about what a piece like this, with a piece like this, can be done. Okay, so we're gonna get that little trimming that I had, and she disappeared. Okay, she's not around. Let's see here. It was just a little plain stencil with flowers. Here it is. Found it. Okay. There we go. Just this one here. And this is also another stencil that if you're doing a trimming, let me see if I put it down, you guys can see it better. There we go. Now, always cover up these spots with paint, because those will trick you and you'll get paint on them. So I'm going to do that right away. This is another type of stencil that if you're doing a straight line, if you're doing a trimming of something, you can continue it just the way I showed you how to continue this. You would place this one on your last flower done, and so that way the design continues, right? I hope you guys are understanding what I mean by it. Okay, so that. Now here, I wasn't thinking of doing because it's a small piece. It's useless that I go around doing this. I want to put my flowers all over the place. Okay, so just for the sake of showing you how I would do my flowers, I will cover up this piece here, right here, so that way I don't hit that flower anymore. And I think I'm going to cover it up on the other ones as well. So you're going to have to work with your tape, making small little pieces to make sure. There. Okay, and I'm going to do this one too, so that way I can work with these two flowers here. There we go. So what I'm first going to do in this one this time is, because the hole here is so small and I don't have a small brush, because this is the one I showed you is really, it's not usable anymore. I can't use this. It's too hard. I have to go out and buy some. So I'm going to use a normal size. It's still a little bit big for this little tiny center of the flower. But what's going to happen here is I'm going to hit with the orange on a little bit on the corners here, and that doesn't matter. It's going to even look nice. So hit the brush. You're going to hit it more. Now naturally here I prepared all my colors, and actually I'm afraid that they're going to start drying because it's so little paint. So if you want to do this and like it's a hot day, you might want to do color by color as you're using them. It's for me to go quicker. So I'm just going to get this and go right in the center here. And you see I'm not just getting the center, I'm getting a little bit of the flower here in the corners. And that's okay by me. I'm going to cover up this spot here. See, this is not a good stencil because of the fact that it comes right over here. It's too, so you got to watch out with these stencils, because I'm going to do this flower as well too. And then I'll start turning taking it off and putting it in another position. So we have our orange brush, and we're going to set it aside because we're going to continue needing the orange. I'm going to get another brush. And what I'm going to do is, for the sake of saving brushes, you can use for each color a brush, but I really don't think that's, you know, you don't really need to do that in some cases, because all you have to do now, what I'm going to do is go over here on my napkin and rub off most of the color, and go into the next color that I want to use for the flower. That's just a little bit darker. Make sure I'm going to rub it on the napkin a bit. Gotta watch out for this black. I'll turn it over like this. There we go. I hope you guys can see that. Yeah, okay. So we're going to go over it now with the darker color. Try not to hit this little stem here, because that's going to be green. If you find it difficult, put a piece of tape on it and then take it off when you're ready to put the green on. Okay? Okay, so now for the green. And the green, the same thing. I'm using 2 tones of green. So I'm going to dip it first in the lighter color and go on with that. So first the lighter color. And like here I said, you can the paint is almost dry. In any case, when you do stencils or on paper or maybe on ceramics, no. I've never done stenciling on ceramics or cans or things like that. There are paints you can buy to do that, and it comes out to a beautiful effect as well. I think they're called enamel paints. I'm not sure. So you can do that. Yeah, I just forgot what I was saying about the enamel paints. So I'm getting this sleeve here. Okay, now I'm going to just rub off a little bit of the green and put it into the darker green. There's yeah, well, there is a difference between these two greens, just a little bit of more shading here and there. You don't notice it when the stencil's on. Okay, now I want to go to a different color. Actually, I had to mix up a little bit of lighter purple here, and I'm just going to put it over here actually. There, just a drop. Don't ever forget the mixed medium. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, some people don't believe it when I say, look at that. Oh, you know what I made too? Those I can show you one day. Yeah, I have to wash them though because they're really dirty. I have to wash all my couch covers. I made, I have a, whatchamacallit, you know when you would put those doilies on those armchairs to where the head rests? I made some of those with stenciling as well too. And I've washed them over and over and over again. So I'm getting a little bit confused here. First I got to put in my orange in the center. Now while I was loading up the other video, I went right away and washed my brushes. So I put a bit of soap in my hands and start rubbing the brush with the soap, rinsing them off. You're not going to see any more color when you stop washing them when you don't see any more color on your hands. Then I went to an old towel. I cut them up in pieces, and I went over it with the old towel to get all the color out. Make sure they're always dry when you put them away. Don't do what I did. I know the proper way to do it, but sometimes I just don't do it. And like I said, it has been years since I've had a stencil brush in my hands. Apart some of the jelly plate things, but I don't even think I used the brushes for it. So I'm going to dip the paint in the lighter purple first. Always being careful where you're going with the paint. A little bit of paint on stenciling goes so far, but it's fabric, so you have to, depends on what kind of coverage you guys want as well too. Okay, I'm going to dip it into the darker one now and go around. You know, one of these paints that I used are a pearlescent paint, so I do want to see how that's going to dry. Okay, and always make sure to, as well, I'm, like I said, a very impulsive person, so by now I'd be taking the stencil off to see what it looks like underneath, forgetting to do the leaves. So make sure you have everything done before you take off the stencil. Laugh at myself, what can I do? And I don't want this video to be very long either. I think we're already at, yeah, 24 minutes. That's good. Okay. We're rolling along, dipping in the darker green. And go around here and there. So remember, it's always important that you mask off pieces that you don't want to paint, because your brush is just swirling around there. And, you know, as careful as you can be, like right here, Sometimes you lift it up and you go, oh wow, the green got on there. Okay, time for the reveal. You see here that I already put the tape on top of the black, that it dries fairly quickly. And like I said, read the instructions, because some of them will say to iron it after 24 hours. Some of them will say to iron it after 3 days. I have another type that says to iron it after 3 days. Now, if I want to change my color here, I can, because, like, use a stencil now again with 2 other different colors. I can do it because there isn't a big buildup of paint, and that paint will probably not go onto my flower. But if you find that you're building up paint and want to continue, you're going to have to wash your stencil. At this point that there's very little, I think you can even lay it down with a wet wipe and take it off right away. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this color again and put it down here. Now, and see, this flower is too close to this one, so I will be doing them one by one. Okay, now again, orange or yellow, whatever you want to do. I'm without yellow paint right now, so I gotta buy some. I have a very pale yellow. I want a darker yellow. Notice that, like, I'm just going around here. Like, did you guys see the way they look? They're so adorable. Okay, lighter pink. Swift it off. Bring it in. That's a lot of paint there, huh? See? That's a lot of paint. That's why we always use our stencil, to make sure that there isn't too much paint on it. But then again, you guys might like this. There's, in this sense, see that paint there that I just rubbed off? That's not enough to ruin your stencil. You need a lot more paint to ruin your stencil, where I said it will go under the edges and it, how would you call it, leaks, I guess? It leaks, you know, it gets underneath your stencil. So with the same brush, I'm going to go to the darker pink. This is the glitter one that I'm using, yeah. So I want to see what effect this gives me. Okay, now, you don't have to have a perfect coverage. When you see that little bit of ivory, now I'm going to try to bring you guys in close and see if, no, I can't really do much about that there. No, okay. I'll bring it up closer when we finish, before I close the video up. You can see a little bit of ivory in behind that, and I love that, that you see that bit of ivory of the fabric underneath as well too. You might not like that. You might want a total coverage. It's all up to you. This is, I would call, the real stencil effect, you know, when you not covering it up too much, and it's how would you say, it's there but it's not, how can I say it, it's like it's been worn. That's the thing. I would love to show you guys a wood piece, and if you guys aren't getting bored and you want to see the wood piece being done, I can do it for you and then show you how I go ahead and then make it look even older. Okay, now I do want to change the flowers colors, so I'm going to mix 2 colors really quick, and then I'm going to have to close up this video, you guys, because I don't want videos that are too long, because then they take forever to load up. I'm going to take okay, and my medium, little tiny drop. Come on, there you go. And what I will be using is my already dirty stencil brushes. I'm just going to rub them on here and make sure that I got most of the color out. Okay, so I'm mixing it just a little bit with my brush directly, the paint and the medium. And I always forget the orange. Wake up, girl. So, rub it off. Go in. The orange is kind of dried out already. See that? It's even flaking. So what I will do is, oh, one thing I do want to try with the silks on with fabric always, I want to try the silks and see what happens. I'm gonna have to put the medium in, but I want to see what effect those beautiful paints give in a stencil. So I'm going to take the same brush and rub it into the darker one that I have here mixed up. They're kind of like two turquoises, no, I think you guys call them teals. And just kind of rub it around the edges. Now if you had a smaller brush, a little tiny brush, you could probably even go around completely the edges here. So now that I'm doing these videos for stenciling, it gives me the thing to say, yeah, I want to go out now and get a couple of more smaller brushes. I'm fine with these ones. I got lots of these. I don't need to buy those ones, but small, tiny ones I need. So yeah, I'm going to have to, hopefully I'll find a store, because we have no more stores here in my town that sell craft stuff. It's a real shame. I have to go out and do like a 30-minute ride. Okay, you guys, I'm going to reveal this one. Now here I would be spreading the flowers all over the place. This one is a 24-hour once thing, so I would go tomorrow and iron it. I'm ready to finish. I can finish it off with fabric, and there you go. And I will finish this, and this can be a piece that you can put on a quilt. These you can do all different little types of squares and do a normal floral fabric or a normal gingham fabric and do like a patchwork effect for a tablecloth, for a blanket, for whatever you please to do. The possibilities are so much. So now I'm going to show you up close. Take it out a bit. Okay. And there you go. Isn't that pretty? I love that. I love the effect stenciling gives to anything, to wood, to boxes, to fabric, to all of this. And then the black trimming that goes around too is very pretty. And that's it. Now if I think of anything else that I could show you, or if you guys want to, I will show you what it could get, what you could do with wood. I didn't show you the effect that when you mix black or white with the same color to darken it but these are on more stencils that are more intricate. They're more, you know, like I have a stencil that has the little window and then the brick wall and the little pussycat and the little beehive and things like that. And you want to darken using this always the same color, but shading. That's what I meant to say. Shading. When you want to shade, you want to put a little drop of black paint in the same color of paint that you're using in the first place to shade it. Okay, so I really enjoyed doing this video. It got me back to nice memories and the things that I have done stenciling, and I would like to start accomplishing something else, especially in fabric. Actually, I was even thinking of it'd be really nice to do fabric swatches, and this is a perfect way. Sending little squares of fabric to your friends or to whoever want to exchange, and then making something out of all these little different types of squares. Wouldn't that be cute? Okay, you guys, have a nice crafty day and take care. Bye.